Good evening. My name is Alexander Hagan. I'm the CEO of a small, medium-sized tech company in Silicon Valley. I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders in the first round here in California. And previously, I was a financial analyst, financial journalist, and research engineer in telecommunications. I'd like to present the results of my research on the Donald Trump situation, the cabinet that's entering, who are the players, what is at stake. And actually now what's at stake is what's always been at stake. Will the insiders, the financial interests that run Wall Street, the national security foreign policy apparatus around Washington, will they continue to run things as they have since Clinton got into power in 92 and back previously that to Bush in 88? And then Reagan was a bit of a different thing, but it all really started with Reagan. There's been an unbroken transition, Reagan to Bush. Clinton adopting the same essential groups from the Hill and from the street. So here's what Bernie had to say about Trump. In Trump's election, we could see an outsider influence that could be helpful to his working class voters and other voters who supported him on issues of trade policy, of having better employment opportunities in the United States, in having wasting less money on foreign wars. So here's what Bernie had to say.
And me, Wolf, I would have loved to have had the opportunity to run against them, but that did not end up being the case. Right now, where we are is where we are. I intend to work with President Trump on those issues where he will, in fact, work for the middle class and working families of this country. I will vigorously oppose him if he appeals to racism or sexism or some of the other discriminatory measures that he brought up during his campaign.
But it never crossed your mind that you might have done better against him? You might have actually won if you had been the Democratic nominee?
What good does it do now? The election is over, and, Hillary, I did my best to see that Hillary Clinton get elected. I was out in some 12 states during the last week with 21 rallies. So the election is over, and we've got to look to the future. And what we have got to demand, I think, is that Mr. Trump keep the promises that he made to working families. You'll remember, Wolf, he talked about how he was going to be a champion of working families. Well, I hope he will raise the minimum wage so that people who are working for $9 or $10 an hour get the kind of raise they're entitled to. I hope he will do pay equity for women. Women should not be getting 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. I hope he'll rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, and I look forward to working with him if he chooses to do that and create millions of decent paying jobs. And on trade, absolutely we need a new trade policy. I will work with him to get corporate America to start investing in this country, not just in China and in Mexico.
Here is the blue-red divide of the United States in the Trump-Clinton election. Something very curious. I don't know whether they've corrected this or not, but I came across this ad by Donald Trump's campaign on Russia Insider, which is not exactly a normal site people would go to in America to get their news. I had to go all the way there to find out about this ad. You see, you don't see it anywhere here. 2 million views, made in frickin' USA. Okay, I put in the exact name. You can make the lowercase here if you like. And this is not particularly exciting, but it's interesting. This is clearly something that's been down prioritized. So now I will go back. And you see here I have it recorded.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you.
Anti-establishment ad. And so how did Hillary Clinton lose? She lost by a death of 1,000 cuts. She lost by the many different issues. For me, it was for Libya. For others, it was the disenfranchisement of Bernie Sanders. For others, it was the media collusion. For others, it was the Clinton Foundation. For others, her Wall Street speeches. For others, was her seeming just to be her lack of total tone deafness in picking Tim Kaine as her running mate, or not acknowledging the Sanders movement in a fashion with a running mate, which would have been probably helpful. So the good, the bad, and the ugly of the transition team of Trump clearly made an ad that called out a centralized global elite that was not acting in the interests of the working people, and has made several solemn vows that he will not forget them, and that he will provide better trade policies, have an infrastructure spending program, and not forget that people voted for him. Obviously, Bernie is really to work with him, and also, if Trump does betray all those promises, it will make it that much easier to defeat him by simply holding him to his own word over the next few years and being willing to help on those things there is common ground. Because it's just ourselves we should be talking to. That some of us in this nation chose to not vote for Clinton and choose Trump in the thought we might have better trade policies, reindustrialization, less foreign wars, and many of us did for the same reason with Sanders. So we can transcend the labels to some degree, one would presume. The problem, of course, is when you look at the people surrounding Mr. Trump, and this is a very interesting problem. So this Michael Flynn, General Michael Flynn appears to have been fired when he protested that we started to arm al-Qaeda types in Libya and Syria. So it's a fact that Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Turkey were running jihadists and arms into Libya against the UN Resolution 1973, and we were aiding and abetting and coordinating with them under Clinton. Fact. Now, for a man who has for a period of years been involved in JSOC and the program to kill the leadership of the Islamic terrorist groups, as they call them, he has a remarkable, on the one hand, acknowledgement of the total failure of the drone policy and the wars overseas, and the need to have an economic and social legs of this program that are, he called the military should just be a small layer, and the economic and social, and he talked about meeting with people and asking them what they want to stop fighting. On the other hand, the total tone deafness and calling and having trouble separating the idea of these radicals from the religion of Islam and the history of the Arab and Islamic states. Flynn has also been reasonable about Russia, and obviously what we've got here is we've got a warrior in our military-industrial complex who is against playing realpolitik, where we undermine countries with his sworn enemy. He does not have that level of self-hypocrisy to justify some grand plan.
Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Michael Flynn, made waves in the media when he told Al Jazeera the Obama administration turned a blind eye to warnings that the self-proclaimed Islamic State was on the rise. Speaking about a declassified DIA memo which predicted the Islamic State's rise as a result of the West's policy of backing Syrian rebels, Flynn told Jazeera's Mehdi Hassan the administration ignored his analysis, saying, "I think it was a decision. I think it was a willful decision." And today, Flynn spoke with RT on the latest developments in Syria, namely Russian planes joining the bombing campaign of the country. Flynn said that if Russia's goals are as stated, to target ISIS strongholds, then he welcomes their actions.
I'm not, opposed to what Russia is doing in terms of going after these radical elements, which they know many of them came out of places like Chechnya and Dagestan and other of the Central Asian republics that are down in the Levant area of Syria, fighting now on behalf of these other radical of this Islamic State. So that if that is an objective of Mr. Putin's goals to fight them in the areas where they currently exist, I don't think that's such a bad goal.
He went on to say that the international community needs to come together to craft a long-term strategy and face that difficult question: what is the end goal in Syria? For the United